I want to bring in Democratic Congressman of Connecticut, Jim Himes. He is the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, we are very early into this, but I want to get your reaction to what we're seeing and the reports we're getting out of Iran.
Well, not a surprising moment, when we all learned in the Congress of this attack. And by the way, I would argue that the Congress should have learned of it before the attack. The Constitution is very clear, as is the law, on the necessity, particularly when the stakes are as high as they are in this situation, with 40,000 servicemen within range of Iranian weaponry, that the Congress should, according to the law, be consulted on this sort of thing. But now, of course, we are in this snowball that is going downhill that nobody really controls. Now, I completely agree with your military expert. Hopefully this is performative. Hopefully this is the Iranian regime saying, we can't afford to let the attack on our nuclear facilities go unanswered. It will be performative. That will say, look, we can reach these people, and then maybe we can get back to trying to de-escalate a very, very dangerous situation. But again, it's too early to say. Our bases there, both in at Al Udeid and Bahrain and our other, they're well defended. But they, were the Iranians to decide to cut loose with all of their short-range missiles, with an overwhelming number of drones, we could very, very easily wind up with damage to American assets or even American casualties, which will, once again, remind us why war in the Middle East should always be a last resort.
Well, I mean, we talked about earlier, Congressman, the response after the assassination of Soleimani and the price that was paid by American service members. But I want to go back to what you said about being informed. And I wonder what intelligence tells you, or if there have been briefings, if you feel confident of the status of the Iranian military capabilities right now, which may indeed inform whether or not this is more performative than widely dangerous.
Well, let's divide that question into two things. The objective of the strikes that the president took some 36 hours ago, of course, was to remove the Iranian nuclear capability. And we have no idea whether that was achieved. Thank God, tactically speaking, it was a successful raid in as much as the planes and the naval assets delivered the ordnance. But we have no idea as of yet whether the uranium was even in one of the three facilities. This was a attack that was broadcast many, many days in advance of it occurring. So, and obviously the Iranians are not dumb people, right? There is, of course, a possibility that the Iranians were able to move the highly enriched uranium, in which case we undertook a dangerous operation without any obvious payback for having done so. So anyway, it'll be a good long time before we know, if we ever learn, whether we were able to actually destroy the stocks of 60% enriched uranium. Now, what we know about their conventional response, what they have the ability, they have a lot of missiles. The Israelis took out a lot of their launchers, so they've got a real problem. They do have a lot of missiles. They do have a lot of drones. They could cause a lot of damage. On the flip side, of course, the Israelis made fairly short work of a lot of their capabilities, and it's hard to believe that there isn't a great deal of chaos in the upper ranks of the Iranian military leadership. These are people who probably are fearing as much for their own survival as they are thinking about, the strategy of a counterstrike. So again, far, far more unknowns in this moment than there is any ability to make a conclusion about exactly where we are.
We've been showing some video. I don't know that you can see it, Congressman, but it is showing video that is the airstrikes, we believe, that rained down on Doha, Qatar. Qatar is saying right now, at least, that there have been no casualties. But this is the world as the U.S. Congress is returning. First opportunity for many of you to be together, to have a conversation, to recognize that the president and his national security staff, even as we speak, are in the Situation Room. What is the role of Congress right now, and what is your reasonable expectation of what action Congress will take?
Well, though it is water under the bridge at this point, I can't not make the case for the absolute imperative for any president, Democrat or Republican, to come to the Congress as stipulated by the Constitution of the United States, to which we all swear an oath, as stipulated in the War Powers Act, that unless the United States is under attack or there is a declaration of war, the president must allow the Congress to debate and consider this kind of action. Now, again, I think we're all praying that that this de-escalates rather than escalating, that we don't see a massive pop in fuel prices, that we don't see the destabilization of regimes like Jordan or others in the region, that we don't see the deaths of American servicemen. But all of those stakes are precisely why we are supposed to consider and ultimately approve this sort of action. Now, you asked what happens going forward. The president is obligated under the law to, within 48 hours, to inform the Congress what his intentions are and what he believes he's looking to achieve. And I would hope that we would engage in the kinds of debates that the Constitution says we should. Now, I would hope, but the reality is you need to watch this place for about 10 seconds to know that the Republican majorities in the House and the Republican majorities in the Senate will very gladly tear the Constitution up if that's simply what Donald Trump wants. So I suspect that that's where we're going to be in the next week or so.